There's a stretch of piers on Shelter Island where the sign says you're welcome and the gate says you're not. That's not an accident. It's a 4-decade standoff between the Port of San Diego and a document they signed back in 1981. The port agreed to that condition, then spent the next 4 decades pretending it didn't exist. The condition never expired. It just waited for the port to run out of excuses. The La Playa Trail runs along the west side of the Shelter Island Yacht Basin. It's a dirt path that starts by Talbot Street and ends at Kellogg Beach. If you walk it, you'll pass wooden piers jutting out over the water toward downtown San Diego, built back in the 1930s and 1940s, before Shelter Island itself even existed as a place. Most of them have signs that say the pier is open to the public from sunrise to sunset. But about halfway down each one, you hit a gate with a lock, and behind it sits a private floating dock with a private boat tied up. That's the first thing that doesn't add up. The piers are older than the port district that governs them. The port wasn't formed until 1962, and the piers had already stood there for decades. They're also older than the California Coastal Act of 1976, the law that says the public owns the shoreline. That means the piers were built on public land before anyone was even sure who the public was. The contradiction sits right there at the gate. But the real story isn't what you see, it's what you don't. The document is the 1981 California Coastal Commission certification of the Port of San Diego's first master plan. The commission signed off with one catch, and it wasn't written as a suggestion. The La Playa piers shall be open to the public, or they shall be removed. Not should, not encouraged. Shall. The port agreed, then filed the condition away, and went about its business for nearly 4 decades. The reason the commission cared is called the public trust doctrine. It's the legal principle that says state tidelands belong to the public, and the port holds them in trust for all Californians. The San Diego Port Act, which created the agency in 1962, also prohibits residential uses on those tidelands. Private docks attached to private homes are exactly the kind of use the law existed to prevent. Port Planning Director Leslie Nishihira put it plainly. Land and water uses on the bay must serve statewide public purposes, not purely local private ones, which means every time a homeowner locked a gate on a public pier, the port looked the other way on its own legal obligations. But the port tried to find wiggle room. In 1986, the port decided that the La Playa Yacht Club pier was different. Club members and the general public could use it, so it wasn't really residential. That exception gave the port hope. Then, in 1988, the port went back to the Coastal Commission to amend its master plan and protect the other 4 piers. The Coastal Commission said no. That left the 1981 condition sitting there like a live wire. The port couldn't enforce it without angering homeowners who'd used the piers for decades. Ignoring it would have meant provoking the state agency that held the final say. So it did what bureaucracies do best when faced with a problem that won't go away and a solution that nobody wants. It waited, and the homeowners kept paying their permits, and the public kept stopping at the locked gates and going home. The condition never disappeared, it just went quiet. In 1992, the Port and the Coastal Commission struck an interim deal. The piers could stay open for people to walk on, but the floating docks at the end stayed behind locked gates, and homeowners kept paying for that privilege, some as much as $20,000 to $27,500 a year in permits. Nobody meant for that fix to last 4 decades, but it did. In April 2019, the port released its draft master plan update, and the language was blunt. No new private piers were allowed. The existing ones had to come down within 2 years unless someone opened them fully to the public. The port also stopped renewing permits. 2 homeowners with pier rights started selling their properties, but the piers came with a catch. The buyers couldn't use them. The draft also proposed 1,600 new hotel rooms on Shelter Island, which only made residents angrier. The community found out, and they were furious. On August 28, 2019, a standing room-only crowd packed Portuguese Hall in Point Loma. Over 100 residents spoke during a 2-hour meeting. One after another, they told the port to leave Shelter Island alone and complained about everything from hotel rooms to traffic. Port Commissioner Marshall Merrifield tried to explain the reality. He said the Coastal Commission demanded full public access. If the port got a disapproval from the state agency, the whole master plan was off. But the commissioners weren't ready to give in. On September 16, 2019, they voted 6-1 to direct staff to change the draft and preserve the piers as they were. Rafael Castellanos said it seemed crazy to tear down piers that had stood there for over 80 years. He told the community to point their cannons at the Coastal Commission. Michael Zuchet was the only dissenter. He asked what the port could argue with a straight face to support keeping those gates locked on public land. The answer turned out to be nothing. The Coastal Commission's coastal planner Kanani Leslie said removing the piers matched the Commission's original 1981 decision. Those docks were never meant to stay private on public tidelands. The agency had already made clear that it did not support keeping the piers with their existing access restrictions. The port had picked a fight with the state that it couldn't win. The only question left was how long the commissioners could delay the inevitable. In the end, the paper was stronger than the politics. Losing the argument didn't stop the port from stalling. The commissioners bought time, but they didn't solve the problem. After 11 years of planning work, the Board of Port Commissioners voted unanimously in February 2024 to adopt the updated Port Master Plan. The plan includes language that protects the existing piers, but the California Coastal Commission still holds the final say, and the review process could take up to a year. As of now, the commission hasn't signed off. In the meantime, one pier has already changed. The Nichols Street Pier, formerly known as the Cotton West Pier, is the oldest of the 5 and remained the last one still fully private. In March 2024, San Diego's hearing officer approved a coastal development permit for the upland homeowner. He could build a public access stairway from the La Playa Trail up to the pier. The stairs would let the public walk onto the structure for the first time in over 80 years. It's a small change, but it proves the 1981 document is still working. The homeowner, Jeffrey Hammond, needs the stairway to get back into good standing with the port and renew his permit. Melody Lassiter, a Coastal Commission analyst, put it simply. She said the public access requirement had existed for decades as a condition of the original Port Master Plan, but it had yet to be implemented. So the 1981 document is still alive. It outlasted 3 generations of homeowners and 2 generations of port officials. The paper survived a 6-1 vote by commissioners who tried to protect the piers. And the gates are still locked. Walk the La Playa Trail today and the gates are still there. If you want more of these, the kind of story where one buried document explains decades of San Diego's waterfront fights, come back for the next one. The 1981 condition never expired. It's still waiting for the port to run out of excuses.